welcome to Crafting Journey. That Journey Chick on Instagram. This is another episode of Crafting and Crime Daily, episode 296. We're getting close to 300. That should be next week. Minus the one that I filmed yesterday because the sound went out on me. I'm sitting here talking and Stitch decides to walk across the desk and he did something to the microphone. I don't know what. I don't know. And then when I went to edit the 40-minute video, I had fuzz through the whole video. Like, oh no. So I'm going to re-record yesterday's video so you don't miss a thing about the trials. And then after this, I'm sending this microphone back because now it will not work without headphones. I don't know what the deal is. So it's beautiful. I love pink, but I think I'm going to have to go with something a little bit more professional, don't you think? I don't know. Hey, don't forget to hit the like button. He made me a cup of coffee this morning. It's not quite right. It needs a little bit more sugar, but bless his heart, he tried. So I've been working. I'm afraid to touch this microphone. That'll stop working. Look, the dog. I got to pick up all the stuff. Turn the light pad off. You're going to be looking at it upside down. Come on. But yeah, that's the bottom. This is his kind of his rump area and his two front paws. But I am loving it. So I've got the white done all the way through here and we're working right here. It's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Lots of Aurora Borealis going on here. You wouldn't think so, but just the tiny bit that I put in just makes the whole thing pop. And I'm really pleased with what's coming out here so far. Let's get the planner out. So yesterday, in the video that you didn't see, I unboxed my Cocoa Daisy for the month. And one of the things that was in there, Cocoa Daisy is a planner subscription. I'm not an affiliate. It's just something that I like to do. I like to get that Cocoa Daisy every month. Because they always have fun stickers and it's a theme. And the theme this month is Meadow. And there's a little pug in there. I will put a picture right here so you can see. And then they gave me this little pencil case. It really feels really nice. It's got this little tassel on it. And there's the pug. And there's a little rabbit here. So the stickers are inside. Here's what we got. So absolutely freaking adorable. I'm sorry you don't get to see my initial reaction, but that's okay. So I got this beautiful paper clip that's blinged with a butterfly. These stickers, these embroidered stickers of the pug and the rabbit. And this is the color scheme for the month. And it gave me this little pad of paper. And it doesn't stick. It's not like a Post-it. It's just somewhere you can write notes. I thought I would maybe take it to work. So it says important notes, contact, things to do, remember. Now, I would think that if I wrote anything down here, I'd want it to be a Post-it so I wouldn't lose it. But okay, so it is what it is. But very nice, thoughtful. These beautiful stickers of the bunny and the pug and butterflies and more stickers. And what I loved, it always comes with a couple of affirmations. Yes, and I like those. First one says, if you don't like the road you're walking, start paving another one. I like that. And then this one says, even on a cloudy day, the blue sky is still there. It's there. More stickers. So if you don't like the road you're walking, start paving another one. Yep. So that was, I'm very pleased with this Cocoa Daisy month, this month. I wasn't so pleased last month with the succulents. I'm not a succulent kind of gal, which is why I don't live in Arizona. I don't think I need this garbage. So I'm just going to keep this in here. So tomorrow when I decorate for next week, we're going to do the pug and the bunny. Oh, let me put this in as well. All right, we got all that put away. So yesterday I found out I have a doctor's appointment next week on Wednesday at 11 a.m. This is my pre-op appointment for my surgery, 11 a.m. pre-op appointment. Yep, so I'll put that in. Today we are going shopping for my sister's new bed. I'm sure she's like, I'm going to set my alarm and I'm going to get up early, because she's like one of those sleep till noon kind of people, which, you know, if I didn't work, I'd probably do the same thing. What else is going on? Last night I was on Mickey Sunshine Creates Live. Mickey Sunshine. I'll put a link to that video if you want to check it out. We had a good time. She's been in a lot of pain with her back, so she wasn't in a great mood, so I was trying to help her out. And I was, you know, doing jokes and stuff with her, and she wasn't getting it, you know, just flying over her head. So check that out. One more day of succulents. Okay. So I thought, I got a gift from a subscriber. I wanted to tell you about it. It's called Love People Use Things. And I was like, oh, you know, first when I saw it, I'm like, oh no, not another self-help book. People think I need help. My friend, she's such a sweetheart. Actually, my other subscriber friend, Robin Loves Reading and All the Things, she does book reviews. She can read like 5-6 books a day, write the reviews, and she's wonderful. She does a fabulous job of it. So I can't read a book in a year, much less 5 a day. But so then I started looking into it and reading some of it, and I'm like, oh, this reminded, and you know, Narrate is the one that gifted this to me. She said, oh, you can take it back to Amazon. And I'm like, I could, but I like the book. And here's why. This is about minimalism. You know, not worshiping and loving objects, but actually just loving yourself and other people. And it reminded me of my father, who's passed away. He used to always say, I would say, hey, Dad, oh, God, I love chocolate. Give me some chocolate. He's like, no, you love me. You do not love the chocolate. And I'd be like, no, I love the chocolate. But this reminds me of him, because it was kind of the motto he lived by. He wasn't all about the things, you know, he was about being with people. So, and he died surrounded by his loved ones. So, yeah, he had a lot of people. Sunlight as medicine. There you go. So it's just about being minimalist. And so I do want to read it. And if I run across anything interesting, I will highlight it on the show. The other thing that you missed yesterday was I got my Poshy pens. So I have subscribed to a Facebook group called Poshy Pens. I can put that down in the description. Guys, this woman turns her own pens. And I know there's hundreds of pen turners on Facebook, because that's how they sell their pens. But I just ran across this woman. Her name is Nicole, from the Ticket to Ride event. And she got involved kind of at the last minutes, so to speak. The last week or so, she got involved as a sponsor. And I bought a couple of her pens, and I love them. Oh my God. So what she does is she'll do a pen drop every afternoon at 4:30, Monday through Thursday. And then she'll give you 24 hours in the comments to say that you want to purchase that pen. And then she'll take all of the comments. She'll do a random, she'll put it on a wheel. She'll put all the names on a wheel. She'll spin the wheel. Whoever wins gets to purchase the pen. So right away, I won 2 of those. So the first one that I won is this gorgeous flower pen. Now, again, there'll be a close-up here. But it's got actual flowers inside of it. It is the coolest thing ever. And I like a thicker pen. I like the weight of it. Now this one is a hybrid. So this one cost me a little bit of money. So it's half wood and half resin. And this down here, it's white like a pearl. It's more of a pearl, and it has these glitter, this beautiful glitter inside. So you can't really get the effect. Maybe you can in the picture here. And then up at the top, it has a little place for essential oils. It's a fragrance pen. Yeah, lavender. Okay. So, and you have your choice of tips, and I'm not affiliated with her in any way. I purchased these. So I got a rose gold tip on here, and then I got a gold tip on here, and a 10 placer on the other side. So my 3 favorite pens right now are the 2 that I just got, and of course my go-to pen, which is the one that Narrate got me for Christmas, that says Rebecca, and it's a wood pen. I love it. I use this one because I have the straightener on it, and I think it works really well, this metal straightener. So today what I thought I would do, yes, it's in a plastic bag, a Walmart bag. I have started the project for my sister, the one that I'm going to work on when I have my surgery. But it's a large project, so I went ahead and started it. I'm using this Feels Like Butter. It's a Lion brand, Feels Like Butter. It's 100% polyester, which I think is very appropriate for what I'm making. It's and this color is sea green. I'm calling it like a mint green. But here is what I have so far. Now this is actually going to go this way and work its way across, and then the other, this is like one of the panels. Yeah. And she's like, but it's see-through. Yeah, you're going to have to wear a shirt under it, honey. So I thought I would work on this because it's going to be a lot of work. And while we chit-chat, I dropped a stitch there. There we go. There we go. All right, let's talk about crafting and crime daily. So 3 trials to talk about. Yes. The first, and I'll just kind of wrap up the week for this first trial. This was the trial of Dr. William Husel that we have been following for 4+ weeks now. Dr. Husel is accused of murdering 14 of his patients by overdosing them with fentanyl, amongst other drugs. Fentanyl, Versed, Dilaudid. He would give it all at the same time in these ridiculous amounts of, just ridiculous dosages. And now these people arguably were at the end of their life. Now that's really become a debate. As we see family members taking the stand, there is a debate as to whether were they at the end of their life, or did they have a little bit of life left? Even a few days, that would have made a difference to those families. What we've heard so far leaves one to wonder, had he given a normal palliative extubation dosage? And what that means is, he pitched it as comfort care. I'm going to give, well, he never told them he was going to give this medication. He says, I'm just going to make your loved one comfortable and get him off the vent for you. Okay, sounds good to me. Hi, Stitch. Is going in his little basket up there. I don't know if you can see the paws. So the families would agree, and then he would give these really large doses of medication. And so of course, these dosages have the effect of suppressing your respirations and your breathing, and the people would die almost immediately or within minutes of having their ET tube, being taken off the respirator. Now, so it makes you wonder if he had given what the experts are saying would be a normal dosage, would they have lived for a little while longer? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I don't think anybody does. Does this amount to murder? That's for the jury to decide someday when they get the case. So all last week we heard from more nurses who all said the same thing. These nurses out Mount Carmel were so inexperienced. They had a nursing school there. These nurses would graduate from nursing school and they would get maybe 8, 10, 12 weeks of training, and then they would start working in the ICU, which is just ridiculous as a nurse. And I know I have some nurses that watch the show. That's crazy. You don't go fresh out of school and start working in an ICU. Now, I will tell you that when I was nursing, I after I got my registered nurse license, I went straight into working in neonatal intensive care. But I had been a licensed practical nurse for many years, an LPN. I had worked on the med surg floor. I knew how to organize myself. I knew, what I was familiar with all the drugs, the routines. It just takes a while to get your bearings as a nurse before you can go into situations like an intensive care unit. So a lot of these nurses just gave the dosages thinking, this, it must be right. Everybody else is given these same dosages, and this is, nobody questions this guy. He's doctor of the year. So, and each and every one of the nurses that have taken this stand are either no longer in nursing or they're in nursing and they're not in the ICU anymore. Many of them had to go before the board of nursing and explain their actions, and they were either suspended for a period of time where they lost their license and had to get re-education before they could get their license back. Which is kind of a lucky thing because some boards of nursing aren't so nice. In any case, so that's what we heard from them. We heard from some hospitalists. Those are the doctors that come in and they're assigned to every patient that comes in through the emergency room. They get assigned to a hospitalist who may or may not see you during your stay, because you could die, as most of these patients did, within hours of getting into that emergency room and then getting up to the ICU. And then this person that's assigned as the attending, who's never seen the patient, has to sign the death certificate. And how they do it is just by reviewing the chart. And they write down their summary of what was in the chart, and they sign the death certificate, cause of death, cancer, whatever it was, the underlying disease process. But none of them reviewed the medical records to see these large doses that were given at the end of the life. So they wouldn't have attributed the death to the medication because they weren't looking at the medication. Yeah. And family members. So we heard from a couple more family members. One woman, she said this was the family member of Ryan Hayes. Now, Ryan Hayes, we know, overdosed. He came in as a drug overdose. So this was her brother, and she had gone, her brother lived with her, and they had gone out for a drink. Now, she said, yes, he did abuse drugs. She was not in that scene with him. She knew he did it, but so that night they went out to a bar. They had a couple of drinks. They came back home. They didn't get drunk. She said they just had a couple drinks. She went to playing a game on her computer. And he's like, I'm going to go take a bath. So meanwhile, she's like, I'm just playing my game on the computer. And I'm thinking, what game? I would have asked her, hey, what game were you playing? Were you playing Candy Crush or Ark or, I want to know, inquiring minds. Not relevant at all, but I just want to know because I'm like that, curious. Anyway, he says, I'm going to go take a bath. So the prosecutor says to her, now, why would your brother be going to take a bath as opposed to a shower? And she says, I don't have a shower. Okay. So he goes in to take a bath. She's playing the game on her computer. And all of a sudden she realizes, oh my God, the water's been running for quite a while. I wonder what's going on. So she goes and she's like, Ryan, are you okay? He doesn't answer. So the door's locked. She can't get in. So, but she knows there's another entrance to that bathroom through one of the bedrooms. So she goes into the bedroom. She gets into the bathroom. The door was unlocked. He's in the tub. Now he's just slumped in the tub. The water's running. She turns the water off. He was not fully submerged, like he wasn't under the water, but he was slumped. And so she slaps him, and he's like, he was unresponsive. She splashes him with water, nothing. So she calls 911. When the rescue people get there, they immediately start resuscitating him. So, I mean, he may have been down for quite some time. We don't know, how long he was like that and how it affected his brain. But we know that when they get to the hospital, she follows them there. She is told by the doctors once he gets to the ICU, she meets Dr. Husel, who tells her pretty much the same thing I've been talking about. Hey, I can make him comfortable and get him off the respirator for you. She's like, oh, sounds good. So they drew the curtain, and she did see a nurse come in with medication, and when the curtain withdrew, he was dead. She said he was already gone. So, and that's pretty much the story of most of the family members, which is very, very sad. So anyway, the next trial is the trial of Billy Ray Turner. So interesting. Oh, my word. My word. So the first people to testify, and I'm kind of jump around because I missed some of the testimony, but I'm going to watch the rest of it this weekend and make sure you guys are up to date. But we heard from Mom. We heard from the pregnant nanny, as she's being referred to. She was a cousin who would come over to Shara's house. Shara is Lorenzen Wright, who's the deceased in this case. He was murdered. He was an NBA basketball player, so they had lots of money. They were divorced. So she was living in the rich, the big house with the 6 kids. And she was supposedly having a relationship with the gardener, Billy Ray Turner. Now, Billy Ray Turner is the one that's on trial for conspiracy to commit murder. Conspiracy with her and a man named Jimmy. What was his name? Jimmy. Anyway. So she's already in jail because she took a plea. She's serving a 30-year sentence. So she's not on trial because she pled out. I don't know if she's going to testify in this trial. I don't know. We'll see. But so that was her cousin. She would come over, help her with the kids, help her fix meals, do laundry, and she was pregnant at the time. So she was present during some of the conspiracy, but had nothing to do with it. She said she didn't want anything to do with this. She was just like folding laundry when some of these conspiring conversations would take place between Billy Ray Turner, this Jimmy guy, and Shara. Shara thought that Lorenzen had a hit out on her, so she said, it's him or me. He's got to go. So the nanny, she agreed to testify in exchange for immunity because she said, I really had no part in all this, but I'll tell you what I heard during these conversations. So they've already testified. So then we hear the testimony of Jimmy, who comes in his green jumpsuit. Well, very appropriate for St. Patrick's Day, I might add. He's already in jail on another charge that's pending. And because it's pending, we don't get to hear what that charge is or anything about that charge. He's not allowed to talk about it. The attorneys are not allowed to ask him questions about it, but he's agreed to come in and testify about his role in this case. And he had some very interesting things to say. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. So this Jimmy guy, he also testifies about these conversations. Now, he says that Shara is his cousin. Now, the pregnant nanny is also a cousin, but on a different side of the family. So he didn't even know her. But when she was present during one of the conversations, he looked at Shara and he said, "Is she going to be a problem?" And Shara's like, "No, no, no. If she gets, if she gets in trouble, we'll get her off. Don't worry about it. She's not involved." So he pretty much consistently says the same thing. That Shara said she wanted to kill Lorenzen, and she wanted Billy Ray and Jimmy's help. So he doesn't really want, he's like, he's hoping she's not really serious. So during the second meeting, she gives him Billy Ray's car. And she says, "I'm going to give you this car because I want you to drive back home to where you live. And then I want you to go to Atlanta where Lorenzen lives." She was in Memphis. "I want you to drive to Atlanta and kill him." So he's driving this car home because, he didn't have transportation of his own. So he's driving Billy Ray Turner's car home, and he gets a phone call from Shara, and she says, "When you get home, look in the trunk of your car." So when he gets home, he looks in the trunk of the car, and there's money, guns, and marijuana. So he's like, "Whoa, I'm all set here, but I am not commit no murder." So he takes the guns and he keeps one of them and he sells the rest. And obviously he's got the money and the marijuana. So she calls him one day and she says, "Okay, I want you to go to Atlanta." And she told him what day to do it. And he's like, "Okay, sure, I'll go to Atlanta." He never goes to Atlanta. So Shara is very upset with him. Now, I'm not sure why he agreed to do all this. I'm thinking that he thought at this point, I'm involved in the conspiracy. I haven't done anything, but if this thing goes down, they're going to name me. And if I don't participate, I'm going to be killed. So, or she's going to have me killed, which is kind of what the same thing the nanny said. She was afraid for her life because she heard those conversations. So he doesn't go to Atlanta. So she calls him up and she's very disappointed. "You didn't go to Atlanta. So I'm going to send Billy Ray down and, or I want you to come get Billy Ray." So he comes back to Memphis, picks up Billy Ray, and she sends them to Atlanta. So he goes to Atlanta, him and Billy Ray, and she says, "I was just there. I'll leave a window open for you." So they get there, they're sneaking around the condo, where Lorenzen's living. He's roommating with a couple of other people, and they weren't wearing dark clothing. They said it was at night, and he called it a caper. "We were doing a caper." So they sneak in through the window. These two huge guys sneak in through the window, go inside, guns drawn, and there's a guy on the couch sleeping. So the prosecutor says, "Well, how do you know that wasn't Lorenzo?" And he's like, "Oh, no, I know from the build it wasn't Lorenzo." Because, Lorenzo's this big, tall basketball player. He goes, "It was somebody else, so we just left. Lorenzo wasn't there." And we were both relieved because neither of us wanted to do this for Shara. So they leave. They go back to where he lives, Jimmy. And so Shara's, again, she's upset. So then they arrange for this other time. She's going to lure him to her home. And on July 18th, when he's going to be in town. And then they're going to murder him that night. Well, he testified that particular night, he kept calling Billy Ray, and there was no answer. So when the murder went down, he wasn't there. He said it was just Shara and just Billy Ray. But then a couple of days later, they took him to the site where they had committed the murder, because they had lost a gun. They had lost one of the guns. So Shara had gone to Jimmy's mother, her aunt, to borrow a metal detector. So he's like, "What do you need a metal detector for?" She's like, "I lost the gun. We've lost one of the guns, and we want to go out and try to locate it. So he goes with them. She's talking about the murder, how Billy Ray chased him down and murdered him. They show him where they've cut through the fence, but he wasn't there. He didn't have anything to do with it. Now, I didn't find him to be terribly credible. I really didn't. Do I believe he didn't participate? Not really. I really don't believe him. I think he was probably there. Yeah. So, and then he goes back on another occasion with Billy Ray to locate a gun that they threw in the water. And they don't find it. So later on, after Jimmy gets arrested on this other charge, he decides he's going to talk to the police now. He didn't want to talk to the police before because he feared for his life, but he knew that now he was in jail, that they couldn't get to him. So he said, okay, I went ahead and told the police everything I knew. And he did. He came forward. Otherwise, they had no leads. They didn't know who was behind this until he came forward. So he came forward with all of his stories. Now, the prosecution, or the defense attorney on cross-examination, was pretty thorough about impeaching him on a lot of what he said, pointing out all of the inconsistencies in his story over time, which I thought was amusing. The judge did not think it was amusing. At one point, they went sidebar, and I don't know what this defense attorney said, but the judge stood up. He's this large black man. He stood up, and he excused the jury, to take the jury out, takes the jury out, sits back down, and admonishes this lawyer and tells him, don't you ever say what you said again. That was really disrespectful. I'm not going to repeat what you said. And I certainly wasn't going to admonish you in front of the jury, but if you ever do that again, you're out of here. I'm like, oh my God. He says, now we're going to go to lunch, and you're going to think about what you did, and you're going to get over yourself, and you're going to come back here and be professional. I'm like, ooh, okay. I don't know what he said. I'd love to know. I'd love to be a fly on the wall on that one. Then we had an investigator who testified. He got involved. He was the lead detective, but he got involved after this thing became a cold case because this shooting happened in 2010. It's not until Jimmy comes forward after he goes to prison on another charge in 2012 that they even know that who these suspects are. Now they've got suspects because this Jimmy guy has come forward. And he actually drives them to the lake where the gun was thrown in, and they send out these divers. These were like volunteer divers, and they go out, they can't find it. So after this detective gets involved, after it's a cold case, he gets FBI divers to go out there, and he finds the gun. And it's traced back to Shara and Billy Ray somehow. I haven't heard that testimony. I haven't heard the ballistics testimony. But that's how they were all developed as suspects years later. Then we have the guy with the cell phone records. They pulled Shara's cell phone. They copied all of her cell phone. They had Billy Ray's cell phone, and they had Jimmy's. Jimmy didn't have a cell phone. Jimmy used a payphone. But interestingly, consistent with Jimmy's testimony, because he said he called Billy Ray the night of the murder 4 or 5 times, because they were supposed to do it at a certain time, and he kept calling and calling, and Billy Ray wasn't answering. And that's consistent with Billy Ray's phone records, that he got 4 or 5 phone calls that he didn't answer. So is Jimmy telling the truth that he wasn't there during the murder? I don't know. But the cell phone tower location records show that Billy Ray, 20 minutes before the murder, his cell phone was pinging off a tower near Shara's house. And at the time of the murder, his cell phone was pinging at a tower near the location of where they found his body, Lorenzen's body. So, very interesting. I know, long show today, guys, but a lot of interesting stuff. So then we have the third trial, the trial of Chandler Halderson. This was the sentencing. He has already been tried. I covered the case. This is at the time he was 22, 24 years old. He's 27 years old now. He killed his parents and then mutilated their bodies. And it's just, how he did it is just horrendous. I mean, and the only reason we can think that he did it was because to cover up his lies. He was lying about working, lying about going to school. He said he had a job at SpaceX, that he in Florida, and he was getting ready to move down there. Him and his girlfriend were renting or buying a home, and he just didn't know how to get out of all these lies. And his father figured it out. And the day that his father figured it out, he's like, oh dear, I'm in trouble. So he kills his parents, shoots them in the back, shoots his father in the back when his mother gets home from work, shoots her in the back. Then he stuffs them in the freezer because his girlfriend's coming over. She spends the night. I'm not convinced that she wasn't in on it, or that she didn't know anything about it. I'm not convinced. But in any case, she goes home. He takes them out of the freezer, fires up the fireplace, puts them into the fireplace, but he discovers they won't, they're too big to burn completely. So then he starts chopping them up and dumping body parts all over town. Disgusting. So the prosecutor, she made her little speech. She read some of the letters that people had wrote, the victim impact statements that people had wrote, how this has affected their lives by the death of this man's mother and father. And she said, I have prosecuted a lot of murderers in my time. And I can always look at them, and she goes, and I can see that they've been through something in their life that, it doesn't excuse what they've done, but it kind of gives a context to what they've done. Either they have, drugs and alcohol background, or child abuse background, or what are some of the other things? Or they have maybe they're homeless, or they've been exposed to violence or trauma somewhere during their lifetime. She said, I saw none of this with this kid. He was a white male who lived a life of privilege. His parents gave him everything. His mother doted on him, whatever you want. And all of the relatives in their impact statement said, we would have forgiven him for the lies. We would have been upset, but we would have gotten over it. We would have helped him get his life back on track, but for him to have murdered his parents was just disgusting. So the judge made this very big, long speech and one of the things he said in his speech, which I thought was really sweet, was because the defense attorneys had been heavily criticized, because this was televised on YouTube. So the defense attorneys were heavily criticized for not cross-examining a lot of the witnesses. And he said, they did a very admirable job defending their client. He says, I found them to be very effective, very efficient, and I don't have any criticism of them. And I thank them for what they had to do. I know it was difficult. And he was becoming very emotional during the judge what he was saying. And like me, he's an ugly crier. He would have to stop to blow his nose. That's why I hate when I cry. I always have to blow my nose. It's terrible. So then he gets to the end of the speech, and, the only question was here that, because there's no death penalty in this state, was he going to get life with the possibility of parole or life without the possibility of parole? And he looked at him and he said, before we get to that, he had tried to get out of being at this sentencing altogether, Chandler Halderson. He didn't want to be there. And the judge said, no, you're going to be here. And then he said he didn't want to say anything. And then at the last minute, his attorney say, Chandler wants to say something. So he takes his mask off and he he's got a piece of paper, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, is he going to show some remorse? Is he going to say something prophetic here? And he says, I fully intend to appeal this conviction, and if there's any attorneys out there that want to represent me, please contact me. And the reason that I haven't shown any emotion, or people think I don't have any feelings, is because I was told not to show emotions or feelings during these proceedings. Puts his mask back on, and he's done. I mean, that was it. And just exactly that demeanor. I'm like I had to pick my jaw up off the floor. So then the judge does his speech thing, and then he turns to Chandler and he says, you will spend every single day of the rest of your life in prison. The only day you will ever see the outside of a prison again is when they have the privilege of burying your body, something that your parents did not have. And period, the end. That was it. This proceeding is over. And Chandler just gets up and walks out, with the deputies. No emotions. No. Many times during the sentencing, I thought I was going to cry. It was very sad. And this guy showed no emotions whatsoever. None. Interesting. So, I have yammered on for quite some time now, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I know it was lengthy, but I wanted to bring you up to date on all of the trials from last week, all of what was happening. I don't know when you're going to listen to this, but I hope you're having a fabulous weekend. Don't forget to hit the like button. He did make me a cup of coffee this morning. And please subscribe. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing to the channel if you enjoy the content. And if you're already subscribed, please consider becoming a member of the channel or a Patreon. Both are down in the description. And don't forget to hit the notification bell because you don't want to miss a single episode of Crafting and Crime Daily. So I will see you tomorrow in my live Sunday at 11 a.m. Central Time, where we can chit chat. Bye.